What is going on, guys? Today we will be making a pair of custom Vans. I made these Vans from inspiration from Instagram. I saw this pair, they were in white. I wanted to make them in black, had an old pair of Vans lying around, so I figured, hey, why not give it a shot? So here we go. So for this custom, you're going to want to get a pair of Vans. You're going to want to get Angelus paint. For this custom, you use black, white, and some Too Soft. You're also going to need a Sharpie. So these are all the materials you'll need to start your custom, and let's go. So for the first part of this custom, you're going to want to start by unlacing your shoe. You obviously want to do this so you don't get any paint on the laces, but you're going to want to save the laces for later because we will also be doing some customizing on those as well. So once you've done that, our next step is going to be mixing the paint. For this, I'm going to be using Angelus white paint. I'm going to also be putting some Too Soft in there because we're working with fabric. You want your ratio to be about 2 drops for every 10 drops of paint. I'm just doing it by eye, so as you see here, I'm just going to put a little bit of paint on a plate so it doesn't go into anything. And now I'm going to take my Too Soft and mix it in with the paint. As you can see, I have a dropper for my Too Soft, but you can just pour it or whatever to do to mix it, but I use a dropper. I generally try to keep it 2-3 drops for that amount of paint. It's not a lot. You don't need a lot for this custom. You just need enough to outline all the parts of your shoe that you want to paint. But I mix mine with a paintbrush. You could mix it with a toothpick or whatever. I just use a paintbrush because it's going to get paint on it anyway. So now that our paint is mixed, I'm going to move on to painting the uppers. How I did mine is I just put one light coat on it first. You're going to want to do 2 to 3 coats of paint on this because the paint will not show up as good on the black as it does on white. So since we're doing black shoes, we're going to want to do 2-3 layers. What I did was I just did one shoe just because it takes more time to do 2, but I did 1 for this purpose. But for this, I just started by outlining all the parts with white thread and then painted over them again. So after you did that, the next step is the lace holes. You just want to outline these in white paint and go over them twice. I did mine 3 times just so it comes out more prominent, but they should look something like this after the first coat. You're going to want to put another layer of paint on them so they come out more white. Because of the black shoe, they're not going to come out as good. For my next step, I'm going to be working on the white stripe here. You're going to want to stay inside the parts with the white thread. You're going to want to do this once just so it fills in. You can go thicker on paint for this, but I don't recommend going super thick, but you just want to make it so that way you fill in the stripe and don't go outside the lines. Should look something like this after your first coat. You obviously want to do more than 1 coat, but I keep saying that. But it should look something like this. Now that that's done, we're going to have to be working on the toe box. For this, we're going to do the same thing as we did with the other stripe. It just goes along the front part of the toe box. You're going to want to put this, I went thicker on the front, so that way I only had to do 2 coats of paint. But I recommend going thinner because with thicker coats of paint, it doesn't work as good. But it should look something like this. This is how it came out with 1 coat. As you can see, it's very uneven, but I'm going to do another one after. So now that we did this, I'm just going to start by outlining the shoe in white paint. I did this by taking a little small brush and making my line about the width of the brush. I did a light coat around the entire shoe. You're going to want to keep this line small because if you make it too big, the shoe's not going to come out right. I sped this process up so you don't have to watch me paint the whole shoe, but it only takes probably 2-3 layers to make that even. The front part of the shoe is definitely the hardest part of the shoe to do because the fabric's different, but that should only take 2-3 coats. So now that we're done with that step, we're going to want to take our black Angelus paint and we're going to be painting the white stripe. How I did this was, before this, I prepped it with acetone and a cotton ball so that way the paint would stick better. But you're going to want to stay inside the thread line of the stripe. You don't want to go over the second thread line in the back of the shoe. I probably should have zoomed in on that, but I didn't. But you'll see if you're doing this tutorial. The back of the shoe has 2 threads going down it, so you're going to want to stay on the bottom thread. That's what I did. And it came out looking alright. You could do the top thread. It probably won't look bad, but I just stuck with the bottom thread. So while that's drying, we're going to be moving on to the back part of the shoe. The back part of the shoe is made of the same stuff from the front part of the shoe, so as I said before, you're going to want to put multiple coats on this. In the video I only did 1, but after I touched everything up, I realized that I missed the top part of that little lace right there, so you're going to want to do that part on the back as well. But as I said before, you're going to want to do a couple coats on the back because of the fabric. So this is my favorite part of the custom. This is where you make the cartoon effect. You can do this by just adding lines to the shoe. It doesn't matter where you put them, just put them wherever you think it looks good. I did mine sort of near the edges of the shoe, just so it had that cartoon look. I ended up going over them twice with paint after I did them, but you're going to want to stick towards the edges. You don't want to put any in the middle. So while that's drying, you're going to want to grab your laces from before. For this, you just going to take a Sharpie. I use a Sharpie here. You could use paint, but I use a Sharpie. It should last long enough, but if not, you can always just get new laces. But for this, all you're going to do is outline the edge of your lace with the Sharpie. I put a paper towel down so it didn't make too much of a mess on my table, but that's just me. But for this, you just want to outline them so that way they come out as looking cartoonish. If you get any on the inside, you can always just flip them over. That's pretty much it. You're just going to outline these all the way until they fill in. So for the last part of this, you're going to want to lace up your shoes. When you do this, you're going to want to keep the side that you colored in with marker out. To eliminate this, you could just do both sides of your laces with the marker. I only did one side, so I had to constantly keep flipping them. I went back after and I did the other side too. But yeah, you want to go from the outside in. So when you do this, your laces might twist. When your laces twist, you just got to twist them while they're still in the shoe. Or as I said before, you could just do both sides of your laces. So off camera, I finished the other shoe. I also did a little bit on the box. All you're going to do for the box is just outline the corners. But I'm really happy with how these customs came out. As you can see, I went back and did multiple layers of paint so it popped more. But this is how they came out. I think they look pretty clean. I will be doing more shoes in the future. This is just how they look on feet. But thanks for watching. Subscribe. Leave suggestions on what custom you want me to do next. And see you next time.